Welcome to
Theories
of the third kind.
Welcome to Theories of the Third Kind. My name is Aaron. The other host joining me today is Danielson.
Hello.
All right. Well, before we get started in today's episode, we have a couple of announcements that we need to make.
If you would like to support the show, you can do so by joining our premium subscription service, Supercast. For just $6.66 a month, you can get weekly premium audio episodes and access to our entire back catalog of past episodes, all ad-free.
Or if you are a big baller shot caller and you ride on 20-inch blades like little Troy, then you can pay $9.99 a month and not only get access to our premium audio episodes, but also our premium video episodes each week that are exclusive to Supercast. And for that $9.99, you get the video and audio episodes each week, an extra one. All you have to do is go to our website, theoriesofthethirdkind.com, click on the Supercast button that's right in the middle of the website. It takes no time at all to sign up, super easy to do, and you get access to all those episodes right then and there.
But we know things are tough out there right now. So if you can't afford a premium membership, you can leave us a written review on iTunes or Spotify.
That helps us out a lot.
However, don't feel pressure to leave us one. If you don't want to, then that's fine. We just want you guys, girls, aliens, reptilians, Bigfoot, Sasquatches, Chupacabras, ghosts, Illuminati members, underground lizard people, whoever or whatever you are, to enjoy the show. Also, remember, this episode is entirely human-made and researched. No AI was used or harmed in the process other than with the graphic. That's the only thing.
The graphic was made using AI, and then we put it into Photoshop and made some alterations. But with that being said, that is the end of the announcements. And for today's episode, we are going to be diving into one of the most fascinating and eerie topics in human history, curses. We are going to start off by discussing what curses are and then go into a little bit about the history of them, like when they were first, kind of started and all that good stuff. And then we will discuss curses in modern times. And then following that, we're going to go over theories regarding curses. So with that being said, Dan, can you start off today's episode?
Of course. So first things first, what exactly is a curse? Well, at its core, a curse is a wish for harm, misfortune, or evil that is to be placed upon someone or something. They are often tied to the supernatural, rooted in belief that words, rituals, or objects can channel unseen forces to inflict suffering.
You can think of curses as like the dark side of prayers, right? For prayers, you pray for a blessing. For curses, you cast a curse to summon chaos on someone or something. But curses aren't just about like hexing your neighbor for him stealing your goat, or placing a curse on little Jimmy because he looked at you the wrong way. It's not just about that. They're deeply tied to culture, religion, and human psychology. They reflect our fears, our desires for control, and our attempts to explain the unexplainable.
And curses have been around for a very long time. For example, throughout history, curses have fascinated and terrified individuals. They were used as tools as revenge, or for justice, or even protection, believe it or not.
And for us to fully understand the history of curses, we need to travel way back in time, all the way back to 2500 BCE. Now, the earliest recorded curses date all the way back to this time period of 2500 BCE, and it was in the location of Ancient Mesopotamia. Now, during that period, in that area of ancient Mesopotamia was the world's first civilization, the Sumerians. And they were big believers in curses. These Sumerians, they would inscribe curses on clay tablets. They'd take clay from the ground, mix a little water with it, and fold it up and say, oh, look at this clay tablet. It looks so nice. And then they'd say, you know what? Fuck that asshole over there. And they would inscribe, a curse on it. And this would often invoke their gods into punishing their enemies. So the curse would be like a prayer to their god to curse a certain enemy.
I guess it was just like an evil prayer.
Yeah.
Or they just like started writing poems against each other.
Yeah, there are a few famous curses.
Yeah. For example, there is the curse of Ramsin. He is an Akkadian king. Now, this Akkadian king would have these big-ass monuments of himself built, which, I mean, throughout history, it seems like all kings like doing that.
Yeah, he was big into it, though. He'd have them built all over the place. And believe it or not, he'd have his little weebie put on there. Because back in the day, if you had your statue built and you had a little wee, it meant you had more power.
So yeah, this Akkadian king, Naram-Sin, would have these big monuments built, and the people were always like walking by it and just like, what the hell is this? And what is that down there? Oh, that's his pee-pee. But, they would always mess it up though, because they're just like, whatever.
Not specifically
Not the
penis,
but
just
they
the
didn't have to do
monument.
much to that.
Monument itself, they would deface it.
And this happened so much that the king decided to place a curse on anyone who defaced his monuments. And spoiler alert, that curse that he placed on it for anyone messing with the monument, it didn't stop, empires later on from messing with them. They still defaced them. They still destroyed them.
Yep. All right. So let's fast forward in history to ancient Egypt. And it would be here that curses would take a whole new level of sophistication. Now, a little knowledge nugget, but the Egyptians were masters of the afterlife, and they didn't take kindly to tomb raiders, not Laura Croft, because I would take kindly to her, respectfully. I'm talking about people who break into tombs, steal all the gold and shit, and then run away. They hated that. So what did they do? Well, they began placing curses on their tombs.
For example, the Curse of the Pharaohs. This wasn't just one curse, though. It was pretty much a series of inscriptions warning that disturbing a pharaoh's rest would bring death, disease, and disaster. And you would think that would stop people from, messing with them. Apparently it didn't.
Yep. So in 1922, Howard Carter opened up Tutankhamun's tomb, which had the curse inscribed on it, aka the warning of, if you open this, your bitch ass is gonna die. Howard didn't care. He opened it up, and not too long after, several members of his expedition crew died, which this only added more fuel to individuals all around the world believing in curses.
And that was just Egypt. Now we're going to head over to ancient Greece and Rome, and this is when curses become personal. For example, people were cursing everyone over the smallest things. Someone was a better athlete than you cursed them. Little Timmy next door looked at you wrong, you cursed that little asshole. Respectfully. You had an unfaithful lover. You cursed them.
Rightfully so.
Rightfully so.
And these curses would be written down on lead tablets and then left near that individual's home that they were cursing. Or sometimes the individual placing the curse on them would not leave the tablet near the home or the individual. Instead, they would toss them into the family's water well so that the curse would seep into the water and the family would drink it and then get the curse. Very odd. Another thing that they did is that if an individual passed away and they still wanted to curse them, they would slip in the lead tablet that had the curse on it. They would slip it into their gravesite with the deceased person. Yeah.
I mean, tossing it into the water wells of the family, that's one way for the curse to really work. Give them lead poisoning.
Yeah, it is. Damn.
My curses work. No, they died of lead poisoning. What's that? A curse.
This must be happening to everybody in Flint, Michigan,
Now, a great example of how personal curses were back in the day comes from a tablet from 4th century Athens. This tablet was inscribed with, I bind Theodora so that she may not marry or have children.
Damn.
I don't know why I use that accent.
That's what I like to imagine my person cursing people to sound like.
I bind thee so that you may not marry or have children.
Damn. I wonder if it worked. We'll probably never know.
Never know. Someone's going to be like, I can't get married. It's all Dan's fault. Welcome to the club.
You don't want to get married anyways. Fucking sucks. You just end up being divorced. Oh, and by the way, another knowledge nugget for you. But did you know that in medieval Europe, curses were sometimes used as legal tools? That's right. Let's say someone wronged you. Well, you could hire a professional curse writer to draft a curse tablet to be placed upon that person.
Interesting.
Hmm.
Now, of course, as time passed, curses started to become more connected to the supernatural, and it made a lot of individuals wonder if curses were even real. Some even believed, that curses were purely psychological. They were pretty much a self-fulfilling prophecy fueled by fear. And others believed that curses were real and are completed by forces that we cannot see.
However, before we get into the theory section of this episode, we are first going to go over some examples that we have selected of modern day curses. And the first one we have is a curse that I've never heard of before until we started researching it. And this curse alone makes me believe that curses are real. So, this first curse that we're going to talk about is called the Curse of Tippecanoe. This is one of the most intriguing and eerie legends in American history that not many people talk about. It's a story that intertwines Native Americans, United States presidents, and a curse that supposedly haunted the White House for over a century. So, Dan, can you start that off for us?
Of course, our story begins in the early 19th century in the heart of the American frontier. The year is 1811, and tensions are high between the Native American tribes and the United States, who is expanding towards their land.
Not the natives' land.
Yeah, their land.
Yeah.
Native land.
Okay.
At the center of this conflict is the Shawnee leader named Tecumseh. He was a brilliant public speaker and warrior who dreamed of uniting the tribes to resist the American encroachment of their land.
Yeah. The Shawnee leader Tecumseh was like, look, man, I got to get everybody together. Okay. And he had a brother, and his brother was known as the Prophet.
Ooh.
So Tecumseh's brother, aka the Prophet, was also a spiritual leader who claimed to have visions from what he called the Great Spirit. Now, together, Tecumseh, the Shawnee leader, and his autistic brother who had visions, they established a settlement together called Prophetstown. Now, this settlement was near the Tippecanoe River in Indiana, which at the time was the Indiana Territory. And that was pretty much made into the heart of the Shawnees resistant movement. So all the other natives that would join the resistance would go there to Prophetstown, which was at the Tippecanoe River, which was in the Indiana Territory.
Now, another person we need to discuss, though, is William Henry Harrison. So this dude was the governor of the Indiana Territory and a seasoned military officer. And kind of a dickhead. Respectfully, not, but William heard about the Shawnees' resistant movement and was determined to break the Native American alliance and secure the frontier for the American settlers.
So we fast forward to November of 1811. Tecumseh, the Shawnee leader, had left his settlement of Prophetstown to go recruit some new people for his movement. Now, William, at the time, the governor, he heard about this, about the leader leaving, and he decided to take around 1,000 of his men and march to Prophetstown and attack them. And what followed was the Battle of Tippecanoe.
And this is where the legend begins. This battle, the Tippecanoe battle, was extremely brutal. William's forces clashed with the native warriors, eventually claiming victory over the natives, and Prophetstown was destroyed. In total, 62 Americans were killed and 126 were wounded. Around 65 Native Americans were killed and 80 were wounded.
Now, Tecumseh, the leader who was away recruiting others, he found out about what happened and he was pissed. But he wasn't nearly as pissed as his autistic brother who had visions. This autistic dude used his powers to cast a curse. And this is where a rumor started circulating around this territory and then eventually spread all the way to the White House that Tecumseh's brother placed a curse on William Harrison and all future American leaders. According to the curse, he proclaimed that every president elected in a year ending with 0 would die in office.
Now, at the time, not many people believed in this curse. I mean, the rumor of the curse being placed was making its rounds, but no one believed it. However, that would actually all change.
Let's fast forward to 1840, 29 years after the Battle of Tippecanoe and after the curse was placed. Well, William Henry Harrison was still alive and was now considered a war hero.
William was also running for president and using the slogan, Tippecanoe and Tyler too, which Tyler, too, was his vice president, John Tyler. That's why he said that. Anyway, so William wins the election and becomes the 9th president of the United States, but doesn't last long as president.
So this is fucking crazy how he dies. So on March 4th, 1841, William Harrison, the same motherfucker who was the governor of Indiana who did the Battle of Tippecanoe and killed all those natives, he became the 9th president. And then he did his inaugural address to the United States on March 4th, 1841. And it was long. It was the longest one in history. It was nearly 2 hours long. And it was in the freezing cold. And his dumb ass didn't have a coat, didn't have a hat, didn't have a jacket, didn't have nothing. He went out there just fucking freeballing it. And guess what happened a month later? He died of pneumonia because he caught a cold, got pneumonia from being out there too long, and he was the first president ever to die in office.
Now, a lot of people pointed to the curse. However, others disregarded it. But as time went by and more presidents were elected and events started to unfold, more and more individuals started believing in this curse.
For example, we have compiled a list of every United States president that was elected in a year ending with 0 until the year 1980. Of course, we start off with the first president that was elected after the curse started, William Henry Harrison, who was elected in 1840. And like we said, he died in 1841 of pneumonia.
Then you have Abraham Lincoln. He was elected in 1860, and we all know what happened to him. He was assassinated in 1865. Next is James A. Garfield. He was elected in 1880. 1 year later, in 1881, he was assassinated.
Then you have William McKinley. He was elected in 1900, and then 1 year later, in 1901, he was assassinated. Next, you have William G. Harding. He was elected in 1920. 3 years later, in 1923, he would die of a heart attack.
After Warren, you have Franklin D. Roosevelt. He was elected in 1940, and he would pass away 5 years later in 1945 of a cerebral hemorrhage. Then you have John F. Kennedy, JFK. He was elected in 1960, and of course, he was assassinated in 1963.
Next, you have Ronald Reagan, who was elected in 1980. Now, a lot of people point to him, to Ronald Reagan, and say that he was the one who broke the curse. So what happened to Ronald Reagan is that in 1981, 1 year after being elected, an individual named John Hinckley Jr. tried to assassinate Ronald Reagan, but failed. And a lot of people think that since the assassination attempt failed, that the curse ended.
So in total, there were 8 presidents, all elected in the years ending in 0, and all but the last one dying while in office. It's a pattern that's so consistent that it's kind of hard to ignore. And that right there would be our first curse, the Curse of Tippecanoe, and from its origins on the frontier to its grips on the White House.
And yeah, that's pretty crazy, huh? Every 20 years.
It makes me think it's only 8 presidents that died. What, out of
Only 8?
Well, my point was how many of those were assassinated?
A lot of them.
Yeah, and it's damn.
Was it the curse? We may never know. All right, so that right there, like Dan said, was our first curse. Let's get into our next one, which is one of the most infamous legends in the world of gemstones, the Hope Diamond Curse. Now, this dazzling blue diamond, known for its breathtaking beauty and its alleged trail of misfortune, has captivated imaginations for over centuries.
Our story begins in the 17th century. Deep in the heart of India, In the Golconda region, there's a mine called the Kollur Mine. This area was known for producing some of the world's most exquisite diamonds. Well, the Hope Diamond, originally known as the Tavernier Blue, was mined in this Kollur mine.
The diamond was first acquired by French merchant Jean-Baptiste Tavernier in 1666, who described it as a violet diamond weighing an astonishing 112 carats, which, by the way, a lot of historians like to debate that and masturbate at the same time.
Mm.
They say it's 112. He said 112. Others say, no, he said 60. Others say, no, he said 80. We're going by what this dude wrote down in his diary. He said 112 carats. Okay. So that's what we're starting off with. And it gets cut down over history. Anyway, so how Tavernier got the diamond, that's up for debate as well. Some say that he purchased the diamond.
Others say that the diamond was discovered. It was then placed on a statue of a Hindu goddess as her eyeball. And Jean-Baptiste saw this diamond and stole it off the statue, and it was this act of sacrilege that is said to have invoked a curse upon anyone who has possession of the diamond.
So it's one of those two things. He either purchased it or he saw it on a statue and yanked it, and that's how the curse started.
Oh no, I definitely believe the latter.
So yeah, when we look at the historical records, the first recorded account of the diamond was in 1666 by Tavernier. Then in 1668, Tavernier sold the diamond to King Louis XIV of France. So this king had the diamond recut into a 67-carat gem, which he then renamed it to the French Blue. Now, this diamond would become a centerpiece of the French crown jewels, symbolizing the monarchy's wealth and power.
Dude, or did he cut it in half completely?
Almost. That's a lot to shave off. I'd be collecting the shavings.
But here's where things get interesting, though. Louis XIV's reign, though glorious, ended in turmoil. His successors, Louis XV and Louis XVI, faced increasing unrest, culminating in the French Revolution.
Now, during the chaos of 1792, the French Blue was stolen from the royal treasury. The diamond itself disappeared, but its curse seemed to linger. Marie Antoinette, the ill-fated queen, is often linked to this curse of the diamond. Though there's no evidence that she actually wore it or had possession of it, her tragic end, being beheaded by revolutionaries, has become part of the Hope Diamond's lore. Coincidence? Perhaps, but the pattern of misfortune was only beginning.
The diamond vanished for decades, but in 1812, a strikingly similar blue diamond appeared in London. This one was 45.52 carats, now known as the Hope Diamond, was in the possession of a diamond merchant named Daniel Elasian. How it got there remains a mystery, but one theory suggests it was smuggled out of France and recut to disguise its origins.
The diamond eventually made its way into the hands of Henry Philip Hope, a British banker and gem collector, from who it takes its name. Hope's family, however, did not escape unscathed. His descendants faced financial ruin, and the diamond was sold off to pay off debts. The curse, it seemed, was still at work.
Then over the next century, the Hope Diamond passed through numerous hands, leaving a trail of tragedy in its wake. And we have a timeline of individuals who have owned it and what happened to them.
The first individual is Prince Ivan Kanatovsky in the 1880s. This Russian prince supposedly lent the diamond to his lover, who was a French actress. He was like, looky here, baby. Look at these diamonds I got. I got jewels, Betty. Jewels. Her name wasn't Betty, but that's off of a movie, if you know what I'm talking about. But
Black
anyways,
Betty.
Not Black Betty. It's no.
It's a song.
Anyways, so the Russian prince was like, look at my jewels, to his French lover, who was the actress. And guess what happened to her? She was shot dead on stage. And not long after that, the prince was murdered by revolutionaries.
Now, the next person was Simon Montherides. Simon was a Greek merchant who owned the diamond and died in a carriage accident along with his entire family.
God damn, that sucks.
Let's go on a carriage ride out of town, go visit something.
Watch out.
Oh, God.
Okay.
That's like a slow death, too. Ugh.
Then you have Evelyn Walsh McLean. She bought the diamond in 1911 and truly believed that she could tame its curse.
Never forget.
In Jesus. Instead, her life was marked by tragedy. Her son died in a car accident. Her daughter committed suicide, and her husband was declared insane and confined to a mental institution.
A little knowledge nugget, though. Evelyn famously wore the diamond as a good luck charm, even letting her dog wear it on its collar. But despite her defiance, the curse seemed to follow her to her grave.
So following Evelyn's death in 1949, the Hope Diamond was sold to pay off her debts. It was purchased by Harry Winston, a jeweler who later donated it to the Smithsonian Institution in 1958. Since then, the diamond has been on display at the National Museum of Natural History in Washington, D.C., where it remains one of the most visited artifacts in the entire world.
Anyway, since arriving at the Smithsonian, the curse appears to have been lifted, or at least put on hold. No major tragedies have been linked to the diamond in recent decades. Some say the curse was broken when it was placed in the museum, where it could be admired by the public rather than hoarded by private owners.
Also, we have some random facts about the Hope Diamond. So the Hope Diamond was formed deep within the earth approximately 1.1 billion years ago. It's an old bitch. And this diamond is worth a fuck ton. It is currently worth over $250 million. One diamond. That much money. Jesus.
And that right there is our second curse, the Hope Diamond, and how this big, old-ass gemstone has been cursing people who try to shove it up their ass. They should just stick to mail letters. You know, when we first read about this, I don't know why it popped in my head, Titanic.
Yeah, that old bitch threw it inside the
but it was
water.
The heart of the ocean, they called that one. I don't know if it was a diamond.
I don't know.
Wait, was that the Hope Diamond?
I don't know.
Heart-shaped blue diamond necklace, it was a blue diamond.
Thanks a lot, Rose. You should have scooted over and allowed Jack to get on.
Yeah.
What a bitch. Anyway, let's get into our next curse. The Curse of Ötzi, the Iceman, which is a story that spans over 5,000 years from the icy peaks of the Alps and into the cutting-edge laboratories of modern science. So sit back, open up your ear holes, and allow Dan to start this story off for us.
Our story begins on September 19th, 1991, high up in the Ötzi Alps, located on the border between Austria and Italy. It was in that location that two German hikers, Helmut and Erika Simon, were trekking through the mountains when they stumbled upon something extraordinary: a human body partially frozen in the ice.
At first, they were like, what the fuck? And they thought it was a modern mountaineer who had met a tragic end.
Yeah.
But as experts examined the remains, they realized this ain't no ordinary mountaineer. This is something different. This was the body of a man who had lived and died over 5,300 years ago. The ice acted like a time capsule, preserving the body of this man who was from the Copper Age.
Now, this discovery was huge. All the scientists in the world were hyped up because this allowed them a glimpse into the prehistoric life. But with this incredible discovery came whispers of a curse that would claim the lives of several people involved in his excavation and study.
Now, before we dive into the curse itself, let's first talk about the frozen man himself, Ötzi. So what they discovered about Ötzi's frozen ass is that he was alive around the year 3300 BCE. He was a man in his mid-40s. He was around 5'5". He had brown eyes. He had type O blood and had a diet that consisted of grains, meat, and wild plants.
Also, Ötzi was covered in over 60 tattoos, and his tattoos aligned with acupuncture points in the body. He wore a cloak made of woven grass, he had leather shoes that were stuffed with hay for insulation, and carried a copper axe, a box, and a quiver of arrows. He was a starter character in Ark Survival.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Ötzi's body was covered in bruises. He had a deep cut on his hand and an arrowhead lodged in his left shoulder.
A lot of scientists looked over Ötzi's body and his wounds, and they determined that he was murdered. That someone shot him from behind and left him to die on top of that mountain. And as he died, his body would slowly freeze, encapsulating him in a little, time capsule until he was discovered in 1991.
So that is Ötzi, the frozen dude from a long-ass time ago, 5,300 years ago, and it was the discovery of his frozen ass that was a groundbreaking moment for archaeology. His body, clothing, and tools provided an unparalleled window into the Copper Age life. Scientists studied everything from his last meal to his genetic makeup, revealing details about his health, ancestry, and even his lactose-intolerant self. No goat milk, no dinosaur milk. Okay, dinosaurs weren't back then, but still.
However, despite everything that they learned, Ötzi still held many secrets. For example, they don't know exactly why he was killed or who killed him, who were his bitch-ass enemies that shot him in the back. They pulled up on him, said gang gang, and fired that thing. But that mystery was nothing compared to the strange events that began to unfold after his discovery.
So the forensic pathologist who initially examined Ötzi's body was an individual named Rainer Hinn. In 1992, just a year after the discovery, Rainer was asked to come speak at a conference about Ötzi. On his way to the conference, Rainer got in a car accident and died.
Now, the next person that we need to talk about is Kurt Fritz. Kurt was the mountaineer who led the team to recover Ötzi's body. Well, in 1993, Kurt, who was a seasoned climber, was climbing mountains that he knew very well and had climbed before. But that didn't matter because during his climb, an avalanche occurred, it trapped him, and he died.
Now, the next person that we're going to talk about is Helmut Simon. Helmut was one of the hikers who initially discovered Ötzi. Well, in 2004, Helmut ended up going on a hike, but never returned and was declared missing. A few days later, Helmut was found dead, buried under the snow. To make things even more strange, Helmut's wife died in a car accident a year later.
Then, in 2005, the lead archaeologist studying Ötzi, Konrad Spindler, he passed away from complications of MS, multiple sclerosis, which, kind of guess that would happen. But that same year, a molecular archaeologist who studied Ötzi's DNA, Tom Loy, he ended up dying under mysterious circumstances.
So it was around this time when the rumors of a curse being connected to Ötzi began to circulate. People began writing books about it, documentaries, and even horror movies were made about it.
And to this day, when you talk about curses, a lot of people point to Ötzi and say that he was either cursed or had a curse attached to him, and it was placed upon the individuals who touched him. But others say that it is all made up as a way to get more publicity on him so that scientists can get more funding to do additional research on his body. Regardless, we will never know the truth. Or will we? All right, so now we are going to get into our theory section and discuss some theories regarding curses. But before we hop into it real quick, I want to ask you, have you ever heard of Ötzi before and
Yes.
his curse? You have?
Not the curse, but I've heard of Ötzi.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I didn't know that there was a curse around him.
Yep. What about the Tippecanoe curse?
No, never heard of the Tippecanoe curse.
Hope
But
Diamond, though, right?
the Hope Diamond, yes.
Yeah, I think everyone's heard of that.
Yeah, but I've heard of the whole phrase of Tippecanoe and Tyler too. That was kind of like a history thing, but didn't know there was a curse around it.
All right, Dan. So let's get into our theory section. Start it off for us and tell us about our first theory as to what curses could possibly be.
All right. So we're going to start with the most traditional explanation, which curses are the work of supernatural forces. This theory suggests that curses are real, powered by gods, spirits, or ancient magic. And in many cultures, curses are believed to be invoked by priests, shamans, or even angry individuals who channel their will into words, rituals, or objects to bring harm to others. Think of the curse of Tutankhamun, where it's said that ancient Egyptian priests placed a curse on the tomb to protect it from intruders. Or the Hope Diamond allegedly cursed by the Hindu goddess after it was stolen from her temple. Whether you believe in these forces or not, they've certainly made for some compelling stories, which it definitely makes the item or situation definitely more interesting.
So, this theory is that it's the work of supernatural forces, that curses are real.
Yes.
So, let's talk about this next theory, which is about the power of the mind. So, this theory is called the nocebo effect. Now, the nocebo effect is the dark twin of the placebo effect. If someone believes they've been cursed, their mind can actually manifest physical symptoms, an illness, bad luck, or even death. This theory suggests that curses aren't supernatural at all, but are instead self fulfilling prophecies fueled by fear and suggestion. For example, if you hear about the curse of the Hope Diamond and then own that diamond, every bit of bad luck you experience might feel like, oh, it's proof of the curse. Your belief in the curse could make you more anxious, reckless, or even physically unwell. In this way, the curse becomes real, not because of the magic or magic itself, but because of the power of belief. The nocebo effect. Ooh, I'm leaning towards that one. That one's a good one.
That one, it kind of links up with the one theory that you always hate, mass hysteria.
I hate that.
But it does kind of work with it. Say one person's cursed and then like someone else around it, they all start believing it. People start going crazy. They would suffer from the nocebo effect, I'd say, because then they start thinking, "Oh shit, am I cursed now?" And then you start thinking it, believing it, body starts to manifest it. I mean, if you think you're sick for so long believing it, your body starts to go with it. I mean, it's a true thing. So yeah, I mean, I can see that one.
Let's talk about our next theory, Dan.
All right, so our next theory is called confirmation bias. Sometimes a curse is just a series of coincidences. Humans are wired to look for patterns even when they don't exist. This is called confirmation bias. We notice the events that fit the curse narrative and ignore the ones that don't. For example, if 7 presidents die in office after being elected in a year ending in 0, it's easy to call it a curse. But what about all the presidents who lived full lives after being elected in the years ending with 0? We tend to overlook those. Coincidence and confirmation bias can make random events seem like the work of a curse, even when they're not.
So I think this confirmation bias kind of goes along with the nocebo effect.
I could see that. People just believe more into the things that did occur and not the things that didn't occur.
Yeah. It's weird, but we have another theory, which is called cultural and social constructs. So curses can also be seen as cultural and social constructs. In many societies, curses serve as a way to enforce behavior, punish the wrongdoing, or even explain misfortune. They're a tool for maintaining order and control. For example, in ancient Egypt, curses on tombs were meant to deter grave robbers and tomb raiders, Lorecroft. In some African cultures, which we didn't talk about, curses are used to hold people accountable for their actions. And even in modern times, I mean, the idea of a curse can be a way to cope with tragedy or injustice. And in this sense, curses aren't supernatural, they're just a reflection of human values and fears.
That would kind of go into like fables and folk tales in my mind.
Yeah.
Like, don't go out into the woods, little Jimmy. You're going to get eaten by something.
Yeah, witch.
Yeah, witch is going to get you.
She gonna make you suck her titty. Like on that one movie, The Witch. Yeah, that old hag running around butt naked. She steals that baby and makes it suck her titty.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I had a witch try to make me suck her titty once.
Was it while you worked at the gas station?
No. It was I went to the rattlesnake roundup in Meridian, Texas.
Mm.
There's a woman there. She made me suck her titty. She said, "Oh, I got bit by a rattlesnake. I need you to suck the venom." And I said, "Oh my God, watch out." At the time, I just graduated from paramedic school. So I was like, I'm an expert at this. I don't have the extractor, but I have my mouth. And she said, "Oh, it's right here." And she popped the titty out. So what was I supposed to do? Almost caught a charge from the sheriff.
Saved a life. Almost got charged.
Joe Berglinati, Meridian, Texas. Thanks for not giving me a charge for public indecency for sucking on a titty because that poor lady was bit by a rattlesnake. Anyway, let's get into our next theory.
Was she like crawling on the ground or something to?
We won't get into that. We'll save that for story time.
Okay. All right. Our next theory is quantum entanglement and energy. This one gets a little speculative. Some modern thinkers have suggested that curses might be tied to quantum physics or energy fields. The idea is that emotions, intentions, or rituals could create a kind of energy imprint that affects the physical world. It's a bit out there, but think about it. If everything in the universe is connected at a quantum level, could a powerful emotion like anger or hatred leave a lasting impact? This theory is more science fiction than science fact, but it's an interesting way to think about curses in the context of modern physics.
It is. It's pretty much like manifestation, right?
Yeah.
I believe in manifestation. You can manifest certain things. Well, if you think about, curses, you put that energy out there and that energy works for you.
I can see that.
I believe there is an energy field out there. When I get around certain people, they suck my energy right off, out of me. They suck the energy right out of me. You ever see those people? They're like energy vampires.
They are out there. Whether they're energy vampires or not, there are people out there that do suck the energy out of you.
Semen demons. I mean, energy demons.
Same thing.
Yeah. All right. So let's get into our next theory, which is called collective consciousness. This theory suggests that when enough people believe in a curse, their combined thoughts and emotions can influence reality in subtle ways. For example, if millions of people believe the Hope Diamond is cursed, could their collective belief somehow affect its owners? It's a bit like the nocebo effect, but on a larger scale. There's no scientific proof of this, but it is a fascinating way to think about the power of shared beliefs. So it's kind of like that one theory that I hate.
Mass hysteria?
Mass hysteria, but it's collective consciousness. Everyone's thinking about the curse, so it gives it more power.
Power of suggestion.
Yeah.
Manifestation.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Speaking of manifestation, what's this last theory, Dan?
The last theory is symbolic manifestations. Finally, some theorists argue that curses are symbolic manifestations of deeper psychological or societal issues. A curse might represent guilt, fear, or unresolved trauma, either for an individual or a community. For example, the Curse of Tippecanoe could be seen as symbolic reckoning for the injustices faced by Native Americans. The curse becomes a way to process historical trauma and hold those in power accountable. In this sense, curses aren't about magic, they're about meaning. Still, manifestation, power suggestion.
It all kind of is the same thing.
Yeah. It's just different reasoning for the manifestation or suggestion of it, I guess.
Yeah. So I guess that takes us to our own personal thoughts. What do you think curses are, Dan? Do you think they're real? They're fake? They're placebo effect, or what they call nocebo effect? Supernatural forces, confirmation bias, societal constructs to deal with certain things? Do you think it's a quantum entanglement energy field that we put our energy in and then it comes back to people? Or collective consciousness or manifestations? What do you think it is?
I don't know. This is like one topic that I'm like stuck in the middle with. I do think some curses are real, but then some curses aren't. And I could definitely believe the power of manifestation. That's one thing I do believe in. And say someone's just like, "Oh, you've been cursed." I mean, if you believe it long enough, bad things can start to happen because you're manifesting it yourself. But in reality, I don't know. I'm like 50-50 on it for sure. Like, I want to believe that some of these curses are real because of the way things are. But then, I don't know. There's some curses that are just like, eh.
What about curses in general? Let's just not pick a specific one, but in general, can someone curse another individual? Just a simple yes? Okay.
Yeah, I think they can.
Okay. Do you believe there's an energy field out there where a curse is being placed on or being put out there? It goes into this energy field and then finds the person.
I don't know why. First image that comes to mind, the revolving sushi place. They're back there creating curses, and then you pick an order and the curse comes to you. Quantum. I don't think it's that in depth, to be honest, or that scientific-y.
Okay.
I just think it's people, saying curses, putting curses on people. It's like using their own life force for some reason. It's like what I believe in.
I believe that curses are real. You can cast curses on other people using your own energy. You have energy. Same thing with manifestation. You can manifest whatever you want, but you have to do it the right way. Same thing with curses. You can curse people, but it's kind of like bad juju to put out negative energy, because whatever you put out comes back to you in tenfold. So if you curse somebody, it's going to come back to you even worse. So you got to make sure all your shit's in line. Otherwise, you're just going to cause more chaos in your life. So yeah, I think curses are real, and I think it's a mixture of all of these theories. I do believe there is confirmation bias into play, but also it helps with the manifestation. But I also think there's social constructs where people use the idea or scapegoat of curses as a way to process trauma or things that are difficult to explain. But I do think curses are real. I've been cursed. I've been cursed all the time. People place curses on me all the time. And you know what I have? I have something to block it on my back. A big old sigil.
He does.
My entire back is covered in a sigil. So good luck.
And to activate it when it's a really bad curse, never mind.
To activate it, you gotta
semen sacrifice.
Semen's what? No.
He goes and hires somebody to
No, to activate the seal, get it really good and going. I gotta take one of those see those gems up there? I like to get one of those stones. One of those stones that I place out in the moonlight during a full moon. And I get my moon water out there too. I get water and put it in the moonlight, turns to moon water, and then I lubricate one of those stones.
I see where this is going.
And I make sure it's lubricated with moon water, and I keep it near me to get its energy. What did you think I was going to do with it, you pervert?
I thought you were going to just lay it on your back while you lay down.
Oh, okay. Not stick it up my ass?
No.
Oh, okay.
I mean, maybe.
All right. Never do that. Anyway, but yeah, I believe curses are real. You're 50-50 on it.
I mean, in general, I believe curses are real, but some of these curses that are out there, I'm 50-50 on.
Do you think you've ever been cursed?
I'm not really sure.
I think I'm cursed right now. I got an evil eye on me or something. That's why I taken certain precautions.
I mean, I feel like I have been cursed before. And with the help of some people, I believe did get freed from
the curse. Okay.
We've had some good witches help us out.
Yeah. And we had some bad bitches help us out too.
That's right.
All right. Well, if you or a loved one have had a curse placed upon yourself, or you have placed a curse upon someone else and you would like to share that story, you can send us an email or comment down below, and we would love to hear from you. But I beg of you, please do not curse us. Otherwise, it will come back. We got shields up. We got like barriers and stuff. We got a bunch of witches running around here and bad bitches running around here that are witches. Actually, we don't. It's just Dan and I. We got any women running around here.
We got Coda.
Got Coda. Yeah,
he'll stare you down.
The dog. But we do have barriers of protection against us. And we just want peace and love.
Peace.
But we want to hear about your curses and what's going on in your life. So comment down below, send us an email. We would love to hear from you.
Or if you just have any curses that you know of that aren't very popular. I like hearing about like the smaller ones, because I know I covered a couple of them before. Like
we talked about cursed objects.
I know I did a Theories Thursday on the Black Hope curse of a town. Then the Turnbull Valley curse.
Yeah.
So yeah, we covered a couple of them, but never actually dug into the origin of it, which is very cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So do you have anything else you would like to add to today's episode before we roll it out?
Nope.
All right. Well, that is the end of today's episode. And before we roll it out, I just want to say that I know we have been inconsistent with publishing and inconsistent with the days that we publish. However, starting on, was it April 1st?
April 1st.
We are going to publish every Thursday on the dot, Thursday, starting April 1st for the next 24 months. Every week, every Thursday, you will get an episode from us. consistency we will return to. And you will all enjoy what is coming forward for this podcast and coming towards you, all over you. But with that being said, I want to thank you for joining us today. Thank you for your love and support. We love you. May you all be blessed and curseless. And with that being said, Dan, would you like to roll us out?
Sure will. It's okay to be out of this world with your thoughts.
Because you are not alone.